Hi guys, it's Robyn and welcome to my channel. So today I have a very interesting cake to share with you guys. We're going to be making one based on the game Little Nightmares. Now this one's a little bit spooky but was really fun. So I know you guys are going to love this one. So let's get right into it. So today's cake is going to be a little bit on the tall side, so we're going to need a few layers for this one. So I baked up 5 layers of my vanilla cake, and I've added some rainbow sprinkles because, well, rainbow sprinkles are always fun. And before we start stacking and filling these layers, we're also going to level them. So because we're going to be using a darker color buttercream on the outside of the cake, I decided to go with a light color for the center. So I filled an extra large piping bag with some white American buttercream. We're just going to add a nice thick layer in between each cake layer. And then once I have it all stacked up, I like to give it a good press down to secure all my cake layers together. So for our crumb coat, we're going to be using the same white American buttercream in a piping bag that we used to fill our layers. The reason being I wanted to keep the darker buttercream to a minimum so we don't get any funky flavors, because we all know the darker buttercream can taste a little bit funny sometimes. So once we've piped a nice thin layer of buttercream all over our entire cake, we're going to use a bench scraper to start smoothing it out. So when you first begin, you're just going to be sort of pressing the buttercream together, filling in the spaces in between the lines and pushing out any air bubbles or holes that may have formed. And then you can gradually start to smooth it out. Now you're going to begin by first scraping a little bit away at a time and cleaning off your bench scraper as you go. And we don't have to make sure the sides are extra smooth. We're going to be covering that up anyway. We just want to make sure everything is nice and straight, and then we're going to clean off the top and pop our cake into the fridge to let it firm up. So while we're waiting for our cake to chill, we're going to start working on our fondant decorations. And this first decoration is going to be one of the main focal points of our cake. So I haven't actually played the game myself yet, but based on my research and any of the clips that I've seen, this looks to be the door to the ladies' room, which is relatively close to the end of the game. Now, the feeling that this door made me feel was a sense of gloom and doom, and I assume that's how the rest of the game would make you feel, and I thought that would be a really cool feeling to try to portray into my cake, and hopefully once all of the decorations are finished and everything comes together, you guys will understand what I mean. So besides the main focal point of the door, no pun intended, this door has been pretty straightforward. So I've started by rolling out a piece of brown fondant, and to create this really cool wood look, I used a Dresden veining tool and just did lots of squiggly and straight lines, and I ended up with this really cool wood grain. And then I took my stencil and I placed it on my fondant, and I marked off the shape of the door and cut out the size that I needed. And then I just finished it off with a little bit of hand cut wood trim before working on my absolute favorite part of this door, the gigantic eyeball looking down. Because this was the part that really sold it for me. I mean, the whole game seems really creepy, but this just really sets the mood and the scene. I mean, who doesn't want to see behind the door with the creepy eye? That's enough to give anybody the heebie-jeebies, so I thought it fit the cake perfectly and really gave a feel for the mood of the game. And for anybody who's curious about the tool that I'm using to create the eyeball, that is just my Dresden veining tool, and I have to say I absolutely love this thing. I use it for everything, and I highly recommend you getting one if you don't have one already. But if you do happen to be on the market for a new set of Dresden tools, look no further than my description box down below. I have links to tons of great caking tools as well as those, so feel free to check those out after this video. And these are affiliate links, guys. I do not get paid if you click, only if you buy. But if you do buy, thank you for helping my little channel grow. Alright, just a couple more things left to do to finish up this door. So I've added a casing around the outside, and now we're dusting it with some brown edible color dust to make it look really old. And now for a couple of final touches to really make this door stand out, we're going to add a panel and a handle and also a nice big bulky lock. And then we're going to add a little bit of gold paint to really make them pop. So once you finish painting your gold and you've added your handle, we're going to lay our door off to the side to dry, because now it's time to make a personalized cake topper with the Little Nightmares logo on the top, as well as the birthday boy or girl's name and age inside. And you guys can completely customize this yourself. You just need to change the letters in the name and use a creepy font that you like. And I just googled the one I used, so something you like shouldn't be too hard to find. Okay, so once we finished cutting out our black pieces, we need to back these with a lighter color in order to make our topper. So I'm going to take a piece of white fondant, we're going to roll it out to about 1/8 of an inch thick, maybe slightly thicker, and then we're going to strategically lay our black pieces onto the fondant as we would like. So as you guys can see, I've sort of made my letters flow in a curved shape to follow the flow of the logo, and now I'm just cutting away the excess fondant that I don't need. So once I finish trimming my topper and I'm happy with the shape, we're going to add some supports inside so we have a way to make it stand on top of our cake. So once I've finished trimming this, we're going to lay this off to the side. I'm going to roll out a big piece of white fondant, and then we're going to take 2 wooden skewers, lay them on top, and then press them down into the fondant so they lie flush with the top side. And now we're just going to take that portion of our topper that we've already created, and we're going to lay that right on top of where our skewers are, and then cut away that excess fondant that we don't need. And this will take some time to dry, but we'll be left with a nice strong topper that will stand beautifully on top of our cake. So now that I have 2 of my main decorations done, I'm going to switch back over and we're going to finish up that final icing layer on our cake. So I filled up a piping bag with some dark gray, which I've colored with a few drops of AmeriColor Super Black, as well as a few drops of AmeriColor Royal Blue. So I've just piped on a nice generous layer of buttercream, used my small offset spatula to spread it out, and then I'm going to use my bench scraper to get it nice and smooth. So I chose this color because the gameplay is very dark. It's all blacks and whites, and everything is in the shadows. The only real punch of color is the very brightly colored yellow jacket on our main character. So I thought this really dark gray blue would suit it well. So as you guys can see, my bench scraper is a little bit on the short side, so it did take me quite some time to get this nice and smooth. So I do recommend you guys having one that is either the same height or taller than your cake to save you a huge hassle. But for what I had to work with, I think it turned out pretty great. But hit me up down below if you guys have any good tips on how you smooth a tall cake. So next up is our final decoration, and this is the second most important focal point of our cake. We're going to be creating Six, the main character of the game, and she is going to be standing in front of the creepy door at the front of our cake. So the first thing we're going to do is just create some very simple legs, and we're going to insert some toothpicks inside those so we have a way to help her stand in front of the cake. Because she's not going to be on the cake, she's going to be on the cake board, and those little toothpicks sticking out the bottom are going to help secure her to the cake board in front of the cake. Okay, so next up is her jacket. So my yellow fondant was a little bit softer than I would have liked, so I've added some Tylose powder and I've mixed it in really well before shaping it into sort of an elongated egg shape, and then we're going to trim a little bit off each end before securing it to the toothpicks with the legs. And I did find those legs a little bit long, so I did have to trim them down a little bit to make everything fit and look right, but I think that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to take my Dresden tool and finish the front of the jacket off with some front closures and some cute little pockets. And now we can add some arms. So these are super simple. I'm just rolling out a long, skinny, snake-shaped piece of yellow fondant, cutting 2 arms of the same length, and I've stuck those into place onto the jacket. And now we're just going to give her a little collar. Isn't that absolutely adorable? And then we're going to finish off the arms with some tiny little hands, which I'm attaching with just the tiniest dab of water to make them stick. And now it's on to the head. So I rolled out a tiny sphere of skin colored fondant. I've added a cute little nose. I'm going to add a cute little mouth, and I'm also adding a small fringe of black hair to the front of her face, covering her eyes. Now we don't have to cover the entire head because the rest is going to be covered with hood, which we are going to make as soon as we attach her head to the body. So I've rolled out a piece of yellow fondant for this, and I'm just very carefully draping it over the head, sort of molding it with my fingers and shaping it as I go. And now I'm just going to trim the excess with some scissors, and we're going to make some final adjustments using my Dresden veining tool. And voila, doesn't she look cute? And maybe a little creepy too. Alright guys, so we are done all of our decorations, and I think they turned out super cool. I know there are a few there that I didn't touch base on in the video, but those are just very simple silhouettes that should be very easy for you guys to manage on your own. But my wood look cake board, well, that one's a little special. I wanted to do a more in-depth tutorial for you guys instead of just skimming over it in this video. So be sure to subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss out when I post that one. Alrighty, so with that said, it is time to mount this cake onto our cake board, add all of our final decorations, and then it's time to say farewell. I had so much fun making this cake for you guys. It was such a crazy concept. The more I googled it, the more I was like, what the heck? And my kids love this too, but I don't know. The things kids are into these days, I'm not even gonna try to understand because I probably never will. It seems like the scarier and the gorier, the better. But to each their own, I guess. And kids will be kids. Most do love gross and disgusting things, so I guess it kind of makes sense. Well, that's it for today, guys. I hope my tutorial was easy to understand and was able to help any of you who may have a few little critters yourself who also enjoy playing scary games too. And don't forget, everybody, I have tons of other great caking videos as well, so be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and then ring the bell, and then pop back over to my channel and check out a video or two. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.